All right, let's dive into a structural overview of one of the most powerful and controversial ideas in psychology, the G factor, based on the work of Arthur Jensen. Our job today is to map out the system he describes piece by piece.
Think about that for a second. A single hidden thing that seems to link how we do on just about any mental test you can imagine. It's a huge puzzle. So, what exactly is this G, and what does it tell us about intelligence itself? And that's exactly what we do here at Crisis in Perception. We try to look under the hood at the systems that shape everything. Today, we're pointing that lens directly at the G factor, and we're going to follow a really clear roadmap. First the system, then the incentives, the outcomes, its persistence, and finally, how it all interconnects. Okay, so first up, what is the actual system at the heart of all this? Well, it's the concept of general intelligence. So, let's be super clear about what the G factor is. It's not a score you get on a test. It's not something you can directly measure. It's a statistical discovery. See, when researchers look at scores from all kinds of different tests, verbal, math, spatial reasoning, you name it, they notice that people who do well on one tend to do well on the others. The G factor is that common thread, that shared ingredient that runs through all of them. But here's where it goes from just a pattern in the data to a full-blown theory. The argument is that G is more than just a statistic. It's thought to be a real biological variable. The idea is that it reflects something physical about your brain, basically how fast and efficiently your neural circuits can process information. And this right here is so important for avoiding common mix-ups. According to this model, G isn't about what you know. It's not your vocabulary, it's not the facts you've memorized, it's not even a single process like memory. Think of it more like the raw processing power of your brain's hardware, the thing that influences how well you do at, well, pretty much everything that involves thinking. So, if G is the system, why should we care? What's the incentive that makes this processing efficiency matter so much? Well, the answer is all around us. It's the world we've built. I mean, our modern world is just complex. It constantly throws new, abstract information at us, from our phones to our jobs, and it rewards people who can sort through it all quickly and effectively. That's the core incentive. And that incentive doesn't just stay in the abstract. It gets baked right into the big systems that run our lives. Education, the job market, these systems, whether we mean for them to or not, end up sorting and rewarding people based on this ability to handle complexity. It's not just for rocket scientists anymore, it's a part of everyday life. So what happens when you have a system like G running inside an incentive structure like our complex world? You get some pretty predictable outcomes. And here's the best metaphor to really get it. The book likens GEG to a computer's CPU. It's not the software, that's the knowledge and skills you learn. It's the hardware itself, the thing that determines how fast and smoothly all that software can actually run. A more powerful CPU just handles complex programs better. So, sticking with that metaphor, what does a faster CPU look like in real life? Well, the research links higher G to outcomes like this. You pick up new skills faster. You're better at juggling a lot of moving parts when you're solving a tough problem. And get this, some studies even suggest it's more neurologically efficient, like your brain uses less energy to get the job done. It's the real-world consequence of having more processing power.
Okay, but this leads to a really critical question. If these differences in outcomes are real, why do they seem to stick around?
And this is the immediate objection, right? It's the hopeful one. If we just give everyone the best schools and the same opportunities, shouldn't all these gaps in performance just disappear? Well, the argument in the source is a bit more complicated. It says that education is absolutely crucial. It gives you the knowledge, the software, but it doesn't necessarily upgrade the underlying hardware. The theory suggests that G influences how effectively you can even absorb and use that education. So even in a world with more equal opportunity, these differences in outcomes could still persist. And here, right here, is the crisis in perception. On one hand, you have public debates that often treat intelligence as if it's 100% a product of your environment, your family, your school, your advantages. But on the other hand, you have this massive body of G research that points to a deep biological component. These two ways of seeing the world are in direct conflict, and that's where so much of the controversy comes from. Okay, for our last section, let's zoom all the way out. Let's see how all these different pieces, the biology, the social incentives, the outcomes, all lock together to form one huge interconnected system. So we come back to the source to see the big picture. We've looked at the parts, but the real key to the theory is understanding how they are all deeply, deeply connected. The author calls this whole interconnected web the G nexus. And the core idea here is that G isn't just another trait sitting off to the side. It's seen as a central hub in a massive network, a node that has a causal influence on this huge web of life outcomes. And what this means, according to the model, is that you can't really understand any one of these things in a vacuum. The way our schools work, how our job markets function, even things like economic success, they're all systemically linked back to this underlying variable of general intelligence. It creates this massive feedback loop that reinforces itself over and over. Crisis in Perception examines how systems shape belief and how better tools help us see clearly. This project is free and publicly accessible. If you'd like to support the time, tools, and research behind Crisis in Perception, you can become a supporter on Patreon. For a longer audio-based analysis of this topic, see the deep dive linked in the description.
If you enjoyed this kind of systems-level analysis, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.